Okay, we'll get started here. All right. So, as I mentioned before, I traveled all over the world, but the last 8 years I've been with the Maryknolls. So there is some information over there. I was just in New York stuffing these. I put all of these together. There's 17 pieces of paper. They do a very good job with their donor care. They write letters saying thank you to people who have donated, even if they donated once. So that's one thing I like about Maryknoll. And they make calls and they send out letters, just like all the other agencies do. Maryknoll at the moment, Maryknoll Lay now I'm talking about, Maryknoll Lay. We support the priests and sisters, and we also have our own projects all over the world. At the moment, we're in 9 countries. So there's 9 countries, there's about 60 missioners, lay missioners. And actually in the United States, we have a mission right in El Paso. They're working with the immigrants. We have lawyers down there who are helping the immigrants with the complicated law system and things like that. So I was in South Sudan. Now I was by myself as a lay missionary, but there were 3 other priests there, Maryknoll priests. So for the 8 years, that was our community before. So if you know somebody who's discerning or thinking they want to do something wild and crazy, and be different like Jesus is, then we take people, it doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter if you're married, have children. We just sent a married couple with 2 children to Bolivia, and I find that the children are better missionaries than the adults, actually, in many ways. So at the moment, myself, I'm in kind of a sabbatical moment because I'm trying to get some things done, and then I'll probably head back overseas. We used to be in Haiti. We had to evacuate because that country had some very violent reactions, and we had women there who are at risk, unfortunately, so we pulled them out. I myself have just left South Sudan recently. I won't go back. That country is also getting worse. Not to be confused with Sudan. So you have Sudan is here and South Sudan is here. So everybody knows about, not working. What did I do wrong? Where's the IT person? I've actually lived in Africa for over 16 years in very different countries. So South Sudan I went because there was an international religious group working together. And so I joined with them in the beginning. And then I moved to different places because of situations. What? I'm glad there's people like this because I don't know these things at all. There we go. Okay. No. Now you see why I brought this, yes. Okay, so South Sudan is there. Here's Sudan, South Sudan. Here's where that fighting is going on. 2 generals have decided they're going to kill millions of people just for their own pride and greed and selfishness. That is not a civil war. People are not involved. It's 2 armies are fighting each other. Now in South Sudan, which is here, we have a lot of violence as well. If I just touch it, okay. If I just touch it, will it go? Oh, the arrow's here. Arrow, okay, perfect. All right, so South Sudan is also having problems, and there's actually this little spot right here is still disputed as to who it belongs to, Sudan or South Sudan. As usual, oil is the problem. Everybody wants oil, everybody wants the money from the oil. So that's up here, that's where all the problems are. I actually lived in Yambio down here in the south. I was at a teacher training college. Then I was at Juba, and I was managing a guest house for religious. And then I was up here near Ethiopia. This was very, very isolated right here. And just recently I was right in this area here at the St. Patrick's Missionaries. Okay, so in these countries, this kind of a country, people survive any way they can. Yeah? And they, of course, will carry their camel's milk on their head. They collect water. These people go into the bush and kill antelope and then bring them to the foreigners to sell them. You almost never see children walking unless they have something on their head. Those of you who may have been overseas might have seen that. Yeah? Okay, so I buy things in the market and I try to help these ladies. A lot of these ladies have their own little stalls. You can see it's just basic and there's not much hygiene there. There's no Food and Drug Administration regulating them at all. So you buy what you do and you wash everything you eat. You can see that it's just open stalls. And most of these women are by themselves. They have no man. The man has disappeared. So they're doing whatever they can to raise money. And of course, church is very important in Africa. It's one of the growing Catholic areas, but it's also growing Christian and Muslim as well. So churches are crowded. I rarely have been to a mass on a Sunday less than 2 hours. It's usually 2.5 to 3.5 hours. And I'll show you, if we have time, I'll show you a couple of videos later on. But of course, people are getting baptized, married, all those things in the church as well. Basic structure, tin roof, concrete walls, no windows. Schools, classrooms. Now, keep in mind, South Sudan is one of the worst countries in the world. So this is the extreme, yeah? Many of your countries would have a classroom kind of in this kind of style. Kenya, more advanced countries. But here, they're under a tree. This is actually the classrooms right here, if you can imagine. So there's nothing there for those. And then, of course, crowded, because in Africa, everybody has kids. I have never been in a mass where the kids weren't making a hullabaloo noise. And we have chickens walking through and cows and goats. It's everything goes in these masses. But these are the classrooms. So my first job was to teach teachers how to teach. Yeah? And so that's what we were doing. Many of the teachers are just people with no education themselves, and they don't know how to teach. So a lot of times you will see that they just write it on the board. Now this one is using a visual aid. Very rare to see that. You can see the children don't have any chairs. You can see over here, the woman is actually writing in the sand the lesson, and the child is learning that way. They don't even have a blackboard or paper or pencil or anything like that. And of course, a teacher would be correct. He would have something like 200 students, one teacher, and they're correcting these notebooks all the time. So my job was to, again, I was at a religious institute, which is probably the top teacher training college in the country of South Sudan. They've got money. They got lots of money coming in all over the world. Pope Francis actually gave this group $500,000. He was supposed to come on a visit, and he fell and broke his leg, so he couldn't come. So he gave the money instead that they would spend for the airplanes and all that stuff. So we had computers, and I was teaching that, and I just taught whatever they told me to teach. You just teach everything. Even I don't know what I'm teaching, but I have to read the book the night before, kind of make up a lesson plan. I'm a teacher, so I know how to do that. But again, you just do what they ask you to do. And I believe in education, because once you put something in here, nobody can steal it. Yeah, but if you give them tools and seeds, people can steal those things. Okay, then I was pulled to Juba. I didn't really want to go, but I do have a skill set in administration. I've been in those areas for quite some years. So I ran the guest house. Okay, so here's what they did. I ran a guest house. I was the purchaser. I was the logistics coordinator. I was the administrator. I was the I was the project officer. I was the one who made all the arrangements for the transportation of the religious, the sisters and priests in and out of the country. I was the one who was the minister. I did everything. So I was asking my white father priest, I said, what is he doing? He's raising the money. He's trying to raise all the money, and I don't want to do that. So I was not doing it. I was happy to be there. So you can see Juba back here. It looks very good from the sky. It looks nice, but you get down there, and one thing a picture doesn't show you is temperature. It's boiling hot. I mean, we usually are about 110 degrees. That's in the dry season. When the rain comes, it cools off a bit down to 85, 90. You'll notice I'm dressed. The second thing is you don't feel the insects flying in your face and everywhere. Everybody says, aren't you afraid of the wolves and the snakes? I said, I'm afraid of that little mosquito that brings malaria, and that's what can kill you. Although we have malaria. Maryknoll really helps us with the health. We have good health. And so there's pills now you can take that clean it right out. And it's not like before where it stayed in your body.
A question, please?
Yes, I enjoy questions.
What about the language issues when you go from South Sudan to Juba? Are there language issues that you have to?
Okay, so South Sudan, the official language is English, which helps. But again, there's English and then there's English. So everybody kind of speaks differently. It's amazing to go all over the world and people speak English. Just amazing. But they also had Juba Arabic. Now, I had studied classical Arabic. So when I speak classical, nobody knows what I'm talking about. It would be the same as Pidgin English and English. You know, you wouldn't understand the Pidgin English. Just listen to the reggae songs from Jamaica. And it's English, but it's not the same. So that was the problem I had. Then when I got to the field, I was trying to learn those Toposa languages more than I gave up. I'm too old for that now.
Just to clarify, British is the official language because it was a British colony?
It was a British colony at one point, yeah. That's a good point there. And then they had they just built this retreat center. That's the chapel right there. These are the rooms. These are the cafeteria eating areas. They have meeting rooms. And Sister Alice and I worked on that, worked in that area.
How did they get so much grass there?
They have water and they have money to pump it up and water it. Yeah, that's a luxury. Yeah, you won't see too much of that anywhere else. If you look closely, you can see these are the main roads. There's no tarmac there. There's no concrete. These are all just dirt roads. So, first country I've ever been in where there's no, the capital. There's no operating water system. You need to hire trucks to go and get water and bring it. Everybody has water tanks. There's no electrical system. Everybody has solar. You've got to have solar. There's no post office, and I love to write, but I couldn't write to anyone. People want to send me stuff. I said, no, it's impossible. It was at one time it was against the law to sing the national anthem. This is a dictatorship. And they call it a democracy, but it's a dictatorship. Why weren't they allowed to sing their own national anthem? Because people started to say, hey, I like those words. Why aren't we doing that? And the president said, we're not going to have that anymore. That was only for a short time. President of South Sudan wears a black cowboy hat given to him by George W. Bush, and he never takes it off. I swear to God, he sleeps in the darn thing. Now, he's probably got a new one, but it is against the law to wear a black cowboy hat like he has. Every airstrip has a dead plane on it, which doesn't give you much trust in the system there. So I saw a plane. I was in the bush. We were waiting for a plane to come. And you just stand there. It's just a gravel strip, and you're just standing there waiting under a tree or something. Here it comes, it lands, and the door fell off. And the plane just went down, rotated around, came back. People started getting off, and I'm looking, and I'm going, that door just fell. And the guy ran over there, got the door, brought it back, and while people are loading up to go on the trip back, he's hooking that door back up on the plane. I said, I ain't getting on that. But other people got on the plane and took off. South Sudan. They have some of the most expensive internet in the world, and they only have one cell phone company. So guess who owns the cell phone company? The vice presidents are 5, and they have 550 members of Congress for only 12 million people. Why is that? The government, I must say, is very clever. Instead of trying to get rid of opposition, Just give them some money, now they're on our side. That's all they do, and that's why you've got all these people there. They're doing nothing. They just collect money from everything. Every morning, one man with one key opens up the international airport at 5:30 in the morning. Imagine that. Yeah, that airport just, you can't get in unless the guy with the key shows up. Now it looks like there's a lot of trees here and stuff, but there are no community parks in Juba. It's the first country I've ever been in like that. They don't care. They want to, a park doesn't make money, so they sell it to a company who builds something there. Police and soldiers with guns stand guard during the school exams because there's so much corruption. So they have a guy with a gun. What kind of an image does that give to the kids, you know? They're so used to guns, and I'll show you a picture. And we use 2 time zones at the same time. There's a reason they do that, but I don't understand it, and it's crazy. I just don't get it at all. So, of course, the military, as I mentioned, is everywhere in South Sudan, and kids are unafraid. They walk right up to these guys, yeah, what's with you? And so I worked with a bunch of Toposa people who are not afraid of these kind of things. They'll take them out if they have to. But you see those trucks everywhere, you see soldiers everywhere, and you don't mess with these people. You don't play games with them. So the economy is terrible. $1 is 6,000 South Sudan, and now it's higher. This was when I put the PowerPoint together. So you can see that I'm holding right here about $200. That's what I'm holding in my arms. So when we go to the bank, we got to take a suitcase with us. Or here, Sister Rosa had a couple of backpacks, and she said, "Can you help me count this?" So this is a real problem. They actually, people with wheelbarrows are bringing their money to the market. Okay, then after being in Juba, I met a bishop. He's a famous bishop. You've never heard of him, but in South Sudan, he was Oscar Romero in South Sudan. He was Bishop Oscar Romero, and he was well known and well respected. And he asked me to come out to this place that I said was near Ethiopia. This is a very, very, 10 hours on just a muddy, dirty road. I'll show you a picture in a second. And it was tough because you don't have food. And there were many days when I went to bed hungry as well. But this is a Toposa village right here, and it just gives you the expanse. South Sudan actually has the largest game reserve in Africa. But the Toposa are now using it as a food market. They're going and shooting all the animals for food. So I was in the Holy Trinity Peace Village in Coron. So you can see here is the school right here. These trees right here are the river. And then the river is right here again. So this is actually in the green, in the wet season. And these were the buildings that were built over 23 years. I actually lived right in here. I have a picture, I think, that's coming up. So I never had to worry. I could walk all the way out there and just see the mountain and know where to go back. I never got lost. It was impossible to get lost out there. Here's Bishop Hurrish. He's passed away since. He was a good friend. He's the only bishop I have ever known in my life who, when he retired, went out to the bush and lived in a tent. I don't know many bishops that want to do that. And we do have the tale of 2 bishops. We had another bishop who refused to leave his position after the Pope said, "Time's up, you're out, you guys in." He said, "No, I'm not leaving." It was a big problem, but they resolved it eventually. So the Toposa are pastoralists, and what they eat is sorghum. We'll see a picture of sorghum later. It looks like maize, it looks like corn, but you'll see it's a bit different, and it has no taste whatsoever. But cows are everything to a Toposa. So one day in the class, the student said to me, "Mr. Gabe, tell us how you get married in the United States." I said, "Well, I'm not married, so I don't know." And they said, "Well, Mr. Gabe, how many cows does it take to get married in the United States?" I said, "0. "No, Mr. Gabe, that's impossible. You can't get married without cows." See, they know a little, and they don't know enough to know they're wrong. So it was interesting sometimes to talk with the students and get their perspectives on things. So, of course, the Toposa are very traditional, and they do this scarification of their bodies, which is sort of a beautification thing. But I've seen women with AK-47. Do you know what an AK-47 is? The machine gun that they're everywhere. They're everywhere. You can, a dime a dozen, you can buy them. she had an AK-47 tattooed on her arm. I said, why'd you do that? She said, I think it's beautiful. I said, it is. You know, but this is the mentality. They grow up in that kind of an environment. So, cattle raiding, they would go into neighboring groups and they would kill them and take their cows. So here the kids are already learning. This is a bow and arrow, and they're showing me their bow and arrow and everything. So this just gives you an idea of the look of the people I worked with. And then of course they dress in these beautiful colors and everything. The other thing a picture never tells you or never shows you is how much it smells. So of course water is at a premium there, and people don't bathe. They don't waste water on bathing. So most people will. I think in the old days, the farmers were looked down upon because they smelled like fertilizer or cows or something in our country. Well, this is how it is now there. They live with their cows. And they were, the most important thing to a Toposa man is his cows. The second thing is his goats. Third thing is his number one boy. And the fourth thing will be his wife. Now, he wouldn't care about his wife very much. Most Toposa men will have 2, 3, 4 wives, and many of my students had 2 wives.
Which is an issue for the church in countries like
It's a difficult issue, and the way they handle it is they say, look, okay, you want to be in the church, you want to be married, you're going to choose one of those wives as your primary wife. You will marry that one. But the others you will not forsake. You will take care of them. They will be part of your family. You will always take care of them. But you will declare that this woman is the one that I married before God. And they do get a few marriages of elders occasionally in the church.
You said students, so how young do they marry?
Okay, well, maybe I'll do it right now. That's my next picture here. Is it the school? No, it's not the school. Okay, so the young girls could be married, could be forced to be married at age 12, but they could be promised at birth. Oh, I've got a young girl. Oh, that'll go to Uncle so-and-so, that child when they grow up. So they make these arrangements, and the girl has no choice. And I've seen just weeping and crying as the girl is pulled out of school, pulled right out of the classroom. And Bishop Hurrish actually confronted one guy. He put the gun right in his face and he says, Bishop, I have no problem killing you. This is my daughter. I can do what I want. And if you stop me, I will shoot you. And he was serious. And Bishop said, take her. So there are other schools now where they build these walls, probably as high as that. It's very expensive, but they build it around the whole compound. Nobody can see inside. And it's a girls' school. And the sisters bring them in, or whoever it is, and those girls don't leave until they graduate. So 8 years they stay behind those walls. And the reason is we want them, first of all, to physically develop before they have to get married. Secondly, to be educated. Thirdly, to show dignity and respect to the women of this place. There is movement towards that. It just takes time. It takes a long time. So when we asked the men at the teacher training college to take their turn to serve the food, many of them had difficulties with that. And men don't do that. They don't serve women. You know? So that is issues we have to go over. So schools become sanctuaries, actually, to protect the young girls from early childhood marriage. And then it's a difficult life for them. You know, this is the river that's dry, so they dig a hole and they drink that water. And then, of course, if they're moving out to the cattle camps, they put everything on. This would be a rich family because they have 2 mules. And they just, everything they own is on there. Now, you can't see, it's covered with flies, all this stuff. It's so dirty and so smelly and everything, but that's how they travel. They sleep up above the ground because there's so many things on the ground, but a Toposa is the only people I've ever met in my life who can just walk, drop down, and go to sleep right there. It just amazes me that they can do it. It doesn't bother them at all. You know, I go on a trip, I gotta pack my water, I gotta pack my pills, I gotta pack my sunglasses, sunscreen, all that. And the man picks up his walking stick, he says, I'm ready to go. You know, we're going 50 miles, we're gonna go. And he's just going with that stick. I can't do that. Tough people. Okay, so the river was very, very important, of course. And one of the things the bishop was known for was a bridge he built across the river. And this is what happened to the first one. It just got washed away by the floods. And this was a walking bridge that they made. That also got destroyed in the floods. You can see the animals crossing here. And then this is actually the main road where we are. And this guy was standing there. It's not the depth of the water that's so frightening, it's the flow. And you can't really see it in the picture because the picture stops the flow, right? So I'm in that water, that's why I got that stick and I'm pushing against the flow. But the guy says, come over to the bridge on this side. And I said, can I make it? Well, that's how far I got. Right? But this is what the rivers do, what the rain does when the rain comes. It just makes an absolute mess. This is called black cotton soil. Black cotton soil is like glue when it's wet. When it's dry, it's like concrete. And when it's wet, it's like glue. So I always say I like it in the wet season because as I walk, I actually get taller because the mud sticks to the bottom of my shoes. But then my legs are carrying all that weight. But this was very typical. Luckily for me, I never had to sleep out in the bush. I did that in Sudan when I was younger, but not this time. I pretty much stayed in my hut. This is where I lived for 2.5 years. It's just a tin roof with a concrete round. This was my water tap that I shared with many other Africans. This was a latrine over here that I shared with Africans. That's a difficult thing to do. And this was just greens that we were growing because there was no food out there. And we couldn't get, the trucks only came once a month or once every 2-3 weeks, so we couldn't count on them. So there were many times. I ate beans and something called, do people know grits?
Yeah.
Yeah, I ate beans and grits every day for 5 years. I mean, that was probably why I'm having a health problem. Lots of little critters rolling around, and low-key killed this son of a gun right here. It was in the chicken coop. And I says, what are you going to do with it? He said, I'm going to eat it. And he did. So here's a pen to show you. This is a pit viper, one of the most deadly snakes. And this is another lizard that you find everywhere. At night, I would hear them walking around. I thought it was a person. I'd look out, and there's this thing on the ground. I slept with a mosquito net, always. So Toposa have to cook their own food, and here they are cooking outside. You can see how difficult it is. Nothing they have is new or clean, or everything is broken and smashed and all that. They cook over a charcoal stove. They use the 3 stones here, and they would just cook sorghum. And I'll show you that in a minute. Women do all the work in the Toposa land. And they put these bundles, these are used for making fences. And they bundle this up, and I tried to lift one once. I could barely lift it, much less get it on my head. And if you can see, this is a young girl back here, and they just pick it up, put it on their head, and go. They'll walk for 2-3 miles carrying that. This is the famous bridge over the River Couronne. It was damaged in the flood, so you can see all the boards are damaged. It was fixed up later with metal plates so that it wouldn't have that problem again. Violence is everywhere. These men are actually preparing to go on a cattle raid. You'll notice they all have spears, but they won't show you their guns until later. So they'll keep those buried somewhere in the bush. I've seen these guns everywhere. I've had them pointed at me as well. But the good thing about an AK-47 is that's the safety latch right there. It's about this long. And it's very easy to see if it's on safety or if it's not. So when they point the gun at you, it's on safety. I'm not worried. They're just playing around. I would go to a simple market in that area. It wasn't very nice. There was maybe only 3 stores. I could buy spaghetti. I could buy these biscuits, really cheap cookies. I could buy tea, salt, sugar, flour, things like that. But it wasn't very much. And then this would be a cattle or a goat market, chickens, and the people would be coming once a week to that kind of a market. Okay, then after 2.5 years there, I decided to leave because it was getting difficult with the food and the situation. So I came with the St. Patrick's Missionaries. Now I'm only 1 hour from the main road. still an isolated place. And I can get to the market much easier. So I did have fruits and vegetables. I could buy them myself, and I could get ramen noodles. I could get, they're everywhere. Chinese are everywhere in the world now, so I can get these ramen noodles, and it gives me a different taste from the beans and the ugali, the sorghum, and all that. So this is our church right here, and you'll see a picture later. And this is a building for the sisters. So that's how the mission was set up. And then these are our priests and sisters. So we had these young Nigerian priests. Look at that, 3 priests in one parish. Imagine that, you know, 1 priest for 3 parishes, right? And we had actually 4 sisters. Sister Rose is not in that picture, but look how young they are. Yeah, and so they're wonderful. And this is an indigenous sisters, Mary Mother of God from Uganda. So they're lovely ladies. Everybody speaks English. And these guys are some of the most educated and well-spoken that I've ever met. They really are good guys. They were well-formed in their formation. St. Patrick's. Here's my house in Riwoto, much improved from the place I was at in Coron. I've got my own place, and then next door is another place on that side. I did have a motorcycle for a short time because the priest wasn't using it, but it was costing me too much money. It would break all the time. And I was lucky, I had a fence around my compound, so I had somewhat privacy, but you can see people can look right through that. So a lot of kids would just stand right there all day to see what the foreigner was doing. This was my room. I just had a bed, a desk, a chair, but luxury, of all luxuries, I had my own bathroom. Yeah? But the water comes from a local tank. It's a tank that fills with a solar pump, and then it just drips, it drains to all these different points. Well, the kids would turn the taps on at night, and that tank would drain out at night, and they don't understand. There's no sun, there's no pump, there's no water. So in the morning, there's no water. So I always had buckets. I had lots of buckets in my room. Okay, so yes. I'm in a place called Riwoto, near the Kenyan border, and it's about 1 hour from the main road, about 2 hours from the market. And I would never take the road to go to the capital. I would fly on mission flights. They have little airplanes with like 9-seaters. It's very expensive, but it's a service that this Christian group provides to missionaries. So that I would just call them. We did have cell phones here. I would call them, make an arrangement. They pick me up. I pay them in cash. They take me to Juba, and then from there I could come home. I could catch an international flight or something. Yeah.
Would you
Yep.
drink the water, Gabe?
Okay, so the water is polluted. I had it tested, and it has something in it, but we don't know what. And so what I do is I have a little gas. You know those gas containers you have for your barbecues? You have those little gas tanks? Okay, so I have a gas tank like that, and on top of it I have a grill. And that's what I cook on. That's all I have. I have 1 pot, 1 pan. I have 2 pots, 1 pan. 1 pot is small and 1 pot is big. So I would boil about 2 gallons of water every day. And then I would filter that. The problem with the water in South Sudan is it's filled with salt. That's the Sahara Desert, and the Sahara Desert used to be an ocean. So there's salt in the water. So, and we gotta get that salt out. So when I boil, I can, out of 2 gallons, I can get about 3 teaspoons of salt. They're right in the bottom of the thing. Then what I do is I pour it through a muslin cloth filter, and I get another teaspoon out of the water. Then I put that through a catadine filter, then I put that through a charcoal filter. So it takes a long time for me to get decent water. The priests were bringing in bottled water. I didn't want bottled water. I didn't agree with that, the plastic and all that stuff. So I didn't, I could have gone over to the parish and got water anytime I wanted, but I didn't do that. Showering. So I have a shower, that's a luxury, but that water is not filtered. And I'm getting it out my lips and my ears, my eyes, my nose. You can't help it. And this is how I get typhoid. Our students almost always had typhoid, they almost always had malaria. And I started to be just like them. Here's the difference between wet and dry seasons. You can see that when it does rain, the grass comes, everything grows, but we only have that half of the year. Okay, so now I believe, let me see if this works. Watch the picture here on the left. So this is the sorghum that I was talking about. It grows like this, and they eat that top piece there. And what they do is they beat them out. They cut them and then beat them out, and then they get the seeds. And then they boil that and eat it. No salt, no flavoring, nothing. Let's see if this works. Yeah. So there they are. And can you hear the noise in the background? Let me just see if this works. Hear that noise? That's the generator that the priests are using to build all the stuff for the schools. We have a nursery, a primary, a secondary, and a vocational school at this parish. So that generator was running from 7 in the morning to 6 at night, and I can hear it all the time. It was a kind of, there's the sorghum in the middle. Okay, so then I was teaching at Tim Galvin Secondary School. So you can see the classrooms are here, and the compound is very dirty and all that, disorganized. Here's the offices, and here are the students in their uniforms. These are mostly female students. We had quite a few. We had 50%, which was good. We were trying to get more female participation. They're eating their lunch right there. We didn't have a cafeteria. But the priest built a library and a classroom. A library and a computer lab. So before, the classrooms were like this, very crowded, and they had these little wooden desks that an international agency gave us. When we got the library, I loved it. You'll see pictures in a second here. But I wanted the grass. I want grass. And the kids were walking on this and they were killing it. So I put these little concrete things here. I planted over 200 or 300 trees in my time there. Many of them didn't grow because of the heat and nobody watered them, but I was trying to beautify the place. So here's the library before I got involved, and here it is after. And then I had Father make all these desks and these benches. They're very versatile. We can use them for anything. So now the kids, for the first time in their lives, have a dictionary, a book, a Bible, everything. And it was amazing to watch them just develop and everything. So I was really happy. I also purchased, with the donations that I got, I purchased all this stuff on the walls. It's science, biology, chemistry, things like that. And then I purchased a lot of these books, special interest books, just for them to read. And we also have a computer lab. So when I first started teaching, this is one computer to 6 students. And I found that I can't put the girl and the boy together. The boy just pushes her aside and he just uses a computer. I don't like that. So I started just bringing, these are all girls. I started bringing just the girls in and then the boys after and stuff like that. But now look at the difference. I can work with them. They each have their own computer. This was when it was under construction. I actually had them come to my office and they sit in a chair and you can see what we have to plug in and out because we only have a couple plugs, for the computers and everything. So they love that technology. They just love it. Yeah, question? Yeah.
The girls all have short hair, is that because of the?
Sister, God bless her, that was her way. You have to shave your hair. I myself didn't see the problem, but apparently they don't like, even the boys have to shave their hair. Yeah, so they're not allowed to take an exam unless their hair is exactly the way sister wants it. And I said, you should tell them that like 2 weeks before the exam, not the time of the exam. Again, frustrations and stuff like that.
The uniforms, the school I know in Haiti, they give the mothers or whatever the material and they make the uniforms. Is that what happens?
That could happen, but here what happens is the school has, because we have over 1,300 students, we have our own tailor. And now he's working with the vocational. They're teaching Toposa how to sew. I believe I have a picture of that later.
Yeah, I went to missionary school in Korea, and what I remember was that we had indoor plumbing. Now we have a toilet that we could.
Yeah.
So now I'm watching this and thinking, where is Christianity? I don't remember all that improvement, our living condition. I can remember coming together with Jesus Christ.
You're going to see, I'll show you church later. I'm going to show you some church.
So they.
That we have mass every week, and we have mass every day. We have mass once a week in the high school and every day in the church. We start the day at, okay, so a typical day for me would be 6 a.m. mass. All right, so then class begins at 6:40. That's early in the morning. Remember, we're working on 2 time zones. So 6:40 on the parish, but 7:40 in the market. Don't ask. And then I would be at the school from about 7 until about 5 in the afternoon, 7 in the morning till about 5 in the afternoon. I can walk to my house if I need anything. It's only like 2 minutes away. And then at night, I would take a shower before the water runs out. I would cook my food, which takes a little while. And then I would probably use my computer for reading because books are just so difficult to carry. So if I needed internet, I'd have to go over to the priest's house. And if they were doing something, then I couldn't use it. And the connection might not be good. So I've gone weeks without internet and cell phone and all that. Doesn't bother me, but it bothers other people.
Are all the kids in the school Christian?
No, we actually have Muslims. We actually have some that are not Christian, they're animists. But the school is open to everybody, but the majority would be. And we have a lot of converts also, young people who decided to become Christian. Okay, about 15-minute walk away from the parish is this market. And this is where I was in luxury. This was fantastic for me. I could buy potatoes and onions. I had a lady who made spaghetti for me. This was wonderful. You could get all kinds of sodas. You could get beer, but I don't drink. Okay, so this is what I was saying before. I help a lot of women who are small business owners. So what I do is I just meet them. And I just go and I sit in their restaurants and I figure out what's going on. We chat, we talk, we do all kinds of things. And then after I meet their family if they're there. I get to know them. And then I might slip them a little, like $100. You would be shocked to know what they can do with just a few dollars. Here's how they first start. And here's what Latrine here, a good Catholic woman, she put up a tin shed. She didn't have anything before, and she bought some chairs and a table. So that's what she did to improve her business. Here, Margaret went and bought, she has a concrete floor, and she has chairs. And so she's very clever. So I was very pleased that these women really, they use it. You give the money, you give the money to men, they drink it. Yeah? But you give it to women. They put their kids in school, they improve their business, they pay school fees, all those things. Okay, so a lot of times in America, I notice that we judge people on how much you have and how much you do. I'm so busy, I'm doing all this and this and this. And how much you have? Oh, I've got trucks and cars and a big warehouse and everything. I notice almost every house here has a warehouse next to it. I said they have too much stuff. Whereas in Africa, it's not so much that important. What's important is your presence. It's important that you're there as a person. And so I find that me just being there gives them all kinds of hope and encouragement and all those sorts of things. So Jesus, just talking to that Samaritan woman, gave her hope, opened up her whole faith journey for her. So you can see we do have little magazines and books for the kids, for the nursery and primary school. These are primary kids. This is our vocational training. This girl right here, this is the first thing she ever sewed in her life. You know, and it was just so cute. She was so proud. And I showed off, and they wanted me to, the teacher said, go over there. She wants to show you. And so that's what she showed me was her very first piece of clothing. This is a gathering here that we were at, and then I invite the kids to my library veranda, and we have lunch together. No other teachers do that. That's below the teachers. The teachers don't eat with the students, but I would. And that's when the kids would come and we'd relax and we'd talk, and it was a presence, you know, you're just there with those kids. So, there we are. That's the typical dressing of the Toposa. You can see here the women, the young women are starting to wear bras, and the men are wearing shorts even. Yeah? So traditionally, no, they wouldn't be wearing any of those. Those are real leopard skins. Yeah, it's a pity, but they go out and get them. I don't know how they get them. I believe I am done. My question is, do we have time for just a video or two?
Sure.
Is that all right? Let's see if I can find it here. Let's see. Uh-oh. I'm not gonna find it, am I? Where is it? It's called, oh, I forgot the name of it, it's right here. It should be under computer, there it is, actually, yeah. Okay, now go to videos, yeah. And now just hit that one there. So masses are lively in Africa. Do we have clear sound?
It's going through the TV.
It'll come out.
It'll come through the system?
To the TV.
Okay. Big enough here. Good. Yeah, we're good.
It's on the big screen.
Okay. So masses, this is what I'm saying, yes, we have masses all the time, and we have catechetical education all the time. One of the priests in the local village, the big market, he told me he baptized 1,200 kids in one day. And I said, how'd you do that? It took all day. They're pretty dedicated, these priests. And they don't cut corners. They do the whole thing, so, okay.
What corners would you cut, Gabe?
Well, for example, they would just hold a candle up. Does everybody see this candle? Yes, okay, this is the candle of Christ. They go to each child and they do that. They put the oil on each child. I'm very good at that. Okay, we're not getting the sound? So dancing is a part of their lives. You want it one more time? I've got a couple of them. Let's see. So everything is sung. Everything is danced. It takes forever. I mean, a 3-hour mass is nothing. That's common on a Sunday. During the weekday, when we have the student mass, that's 40 minutes and we're done. Now, go ahead. This is the offering now. They're bringing the offering, the gifts. Here's sister dancing. Have you ever seen a religious sister dance before? Priska's very good. She loves the really good. So Father is receiving the gift. So the next one will be a little bit different. We always So at the end of every mass, after communion, everything is cleared off the altar and everybody sits. They start this dance, and it'll go for 15, 20 minutes. It's the Eucharistic celebration. And this is their culture. This is how they celebrate. And more people start coming. They start off with a few, and then more start coming. Children, little men, old men, and everybody. They can't help themselves. It's just, I told Father, I said, don't talk your homily, dance it. And they'll listen. They'll pay attention. So, yeah, just go to the next one. Yeah, they're just more or less just showing the same things. There's a friend who's a volunteer who comes every 4 months. It's just chaos. It's just joyful or whatever.
That's how our classes are.
That's a volunteer who comes once a year, and she stays for just a short time, and then she takes
Colorful,
off.
how colorful.
It's very colorful, noisy. It's just joyful. Now, this I didn't take this. This is a bad video, but it does show some things. Somebody else took this video, but it shows the children dancing. It shows them. See the boat? Boat for the offertory. Yeah, they don't give money, they give stuff. So in front of the altar, there'll be just piles of wheat and milk, water, whatever they bring. And mostly it's kids. You can see Sister is there, Mary is there, and you can see how crowded it is in the church. It's just an average day. It's just an average Sunday. I can have Easter or Christmas here because those are outside. We can't fit them in the church. So they bring chickens and goats and all. You see them taking them out. Yeah, it's what they have. That's what they have. And then they put money in that box, and then later it's counted by the council. So they have a parish council, they have a women's group, a Legion of Mary, they have all those things. And the altar is the same as you would see. The priests themselves dance. They're very active themselves.
It looked like there were quite a few men there.
The men elders will come, yeah.
Okay.
There are men, but again, it's a female, and children dominate the church for sure.
I still like to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, that's it, that's it. So
I
I thank all of you. Okay,
So
so
Father Tom should use, actually Father Al already volunteered. We have 2 priests for 3 priests.
Oh, wonderful, that's good, I'm glad to hear that, yeah.
I just have
Question.
a question. The nun that was dancing all the time, is she the one that shaves all the girls?
No, Prisca was actually involved with the catechetical program and pastoral care and all that. I don't think I had Rose in any of that. But the church in Africa would tend to be more conservative, and yet the St. Patrick's missionary priests are very liberal. So there's that tension always there between this and that. When I was in China, the church was oppressed, so they were not allowed to do a lot of these things. But the way I was in my contract in China, I had to sign an agreement that said I will not evangelize at all, ever. But there's ways around that, yeah? I believe in God, I don't believe in that. But the church would be much more, it would be like an hour mass at the most, But there, people would pray all, at that time, there was only 3 rosaries. They would pray all mysteries of 150 what is it? It's 150 Hail Marys before Mass. I asked somebody, what time's the Mass start? They said 8 o'clock, so I went at 8 o'clock. It didn't start till 10. We were saying rosary on our knees in the freezing cold. Eventually, Father put in a heating system, which is probably from my donations. I would be giving probably 10 times what the rest of the church would be able to give.
What led you into this life?
Oh, God. God is such a jolly joker. I fought like the Dickens to be rich and famous and powerful, and it just never worked. But you remind me, last thing. When I was a young boy, I had an uncle who was in India 22 years and in Brazil 55 years. He was a Franciscan. I didn't really know him. He would come home in those days it was 10 years, every 10 years. He'd come home and he'd tell these stories and I would sit there and listen to that. So when I was in college, I said, I'm going to give away everything. I'm going to go be with Father Alex in Amazon. Well, they pulled him out of Amazon for health reasons as well as the government was kicking them out. And so he ended up in South Dakota, a very isolated place in South Dakota. So I started Peace Corps. I wanted to go overseas. Fell in love with the poor. Now, every time I'd come home, the first thing I'd do is get in the car and drive 9 miles out to South Dakota, and I'd sit with my uncle because he loved mission. I loved mission, but nobody would listen to us. Nobody cares. So when we two get together, we just sit there for hours talking about our stories and everything. I did that for something like 20-some years. 8 years ago, I was in Maryknoll orientation. He got sick, and they moved him out and moved him to Pennsylvania, which is where, these are the Franciscans that run Steubenville, if you've heard of Steubenville, and if you've heard of St. Francis in Pennsylvania. But that's their two marquee universities. So it was our orientation, and I got the call from the priest. I used to go visit him there all the time in the house. And they told me that he had passed away. So I quickly jumped in the car and went. From New York, I went to the funeral. So every priest is given a mission cross when they go into mission. So even I have a Maryknoll one that's very small. But he was given one, it was a good size, and the funeral was there, and all the brothers and priests are around, and they bury them with that mission cross. He was the last of the missioners. They don't have international missions anymore. They don't have South Dakota or North Dakota anymore. So just as they were closing the casket, the general reaches in, the superior reaches in and pulls the cross out. He said, "Father would never want this cross in the ground." And he turns to me and he hands it to me. So today, I carry this is my uncle's cross. You can see it's broken. You can see it's not really, it's been, how many years? Here it is, 1946. This one in mission. It's still with me today. So if I don't have any kids, but if somebody ever wants it, they'll take it into mission after me. Otherwise, it'll probably be in the ground with me. But isn't that a nice story? So that's probably how I got into all of this. Yeah. So thank you very much. God bless you.
Where do you think you might go next?
Okay, he's asking me that question too. It's kind of a, I don't want to say anything now, but if you people promise never to say anything to anyone else. We're in discussions right now with Maryknoll. We've had to leave South Sudan and Haiti, so we lost 2 countries. And I have a lot of experience. I have a special skill set. And they're looking at me as going to another country to open up a new program. So we're in that process now, and at the moment, it looks like Thailand. Now, Thailand is a luxury country. I can show up like this, I would have no problem. But we're going to be working with Burmese refugees. The Myanmar war has kind of been forgotten with all the other chaos in the world. And there's millions of Burmese in Thailand, and they need help. Yeah, Chiang Mai. It would be up near the north. But Maryknoll priest is John Barth, and I and John work together in South Sudan. So you can see the spirit working there. So I just contacted John 2 days ago, and I said, "What do you think if I come there?" And he says, "Welcome." So it looks like I'll be going to Thailand the agreement is after Divine Mercy Sunday, because I'm with my 91-year-old mother, and I want to take her to all these activities.
Who still lives alone and drives a car.
Anyway, God bless you all. I hope that you are able to stay close to God. That's what it's all about.
Thank you, Gabe, very much for helping us remind us that the gospel is something we proclaim and study, but it's also something we live. And so you've shown us both of those very well this morning. Thank you. If you want to take some with you, that would be great. There are also a few little black books left.